a fucking party track, man. Like that's just a 10th Avenue. Sing it for me. Can you sing it? Can you sing Front
No.
Avenue freeze out? Because I'm just like, sing it.
Oh, God.
What's up, everybody? Alex here. Welcome back to another video, and welcome to a reinstallment of Five Favorites, a classic series that had a lot of momentum going with it for the two episodes back in like 2023. But we're kicking it back off in 2025 because this was the soonest I could get on my co-host's calendar. He's booked about 2 years out, and so I'm just glad he's here now. But this is Five Favorites. The concept is easy. I partner with someone on YouTube. It could be a friend, another YouTuber, an enemy, an ex, whoever it may be. And we talk about five favorite records with a little specific theme. And I'm very, very excited for this episode for two reasons. A, because my guest today is my good friend Jason Arsenault. Say hi, Jason.
Hello.
There you nailed it. And more importantly, not really, but kind of, today's theme, this episode's theme, are five favorite records to drink beers to. I couldn't think of a better person to have on for this, Jason. How are you, sir? It's good to see you. How you been?
I'm great. Thank you for this opportunity to drink beer together and talk about music.
I mean, it's like just the boys hanging out at the fire, shooting the breeze, and having a day. So
It's awesome. It's great. I can't wait. I got my beer cracked, ready to pour when you are.
I love it. Well, you know what? Before we jump into the music, let's get right into the business here of some beer. I mean, I the theme again is we're going to show records to drink beer to. That's it. Like we don't overthink these things. It is records to drink beer to. And so while we're talking about records to drink beer to, we're going to drink some beer while we're at it.
Okay.
Jason, I would love to see what you have on tap over there. What are you sipping on tonight, my friend?
Okay. I thought, since beer is such a focal point of this, that I actually wanted to do something very different. This has been in my fridge for a little while. Um, I used to be a part of a homebrew club. Haven't done that in a long time, but I'm still friends with the guys.
Yeah.
And the head guy for the club gave me a whole bunch of beer because I gave him a whole bunch of old bottles. So this is a bottle of homebrew. So I don't know how strong this is. We don't know where this is going to go. But what we do know is that it is a Belgian dark beer.
Oh God.
Incidentally, inside of a bottle from a brewery in British Columbia that specializes in Belgian style beer. So this isn't the beer, but this is what the homebrew comes in. And the glass, the receptacle for this is actually the homebrew club's beer glass.
Beautiful looking snifter you got there.
Yeah, awesome. So let's see what the hell this looks like. Dark?
Oh, that looks like a Belgian beer right there. That coming out
Yeah.
looking. Oh, that's
So yeah, this guy is Kevin. I know you're not. Actually, Kevin is very supportive. Back in my YouTube celebrity days, he was always watching. I'm really supportive of the Misty Mountain Mashers and all the social media they do. A great guy and a great beer club. And let's check this out. That's perfect. Nice
man.
job, Kevin. That's perfect.
I mean, it poured super well, right? Good
It
little head
did.
on there. Yeah.
That was really nice.
Now, what's the weather like up there in BC today? I mean, is it kind of Belgian drinking weather? Or is it just beautiful out? What you dealing?
Actually, it is because I wouldn't ever have a Belgian. This is beer snobbery talk for sure, but I
Sure.
wouldn't drink a dark Belgian beer on a hot summer day. It is like kind of cold out today,
Oh,
10 Celsius, which is not great. Kind of overcast, even rained a little bit. So this is Belgium weather,
perfect.
Belgium beer drinking weather. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome, man. I'm so glad you're here. Well, for me, and this is a bit of a it's a new beer. I've never had this one before, which is
Oh, good.
a bit of a shocker for me. Now, for people might not know, but there's a little bit of a gentleman's agreement here that since we're talking about records to drink beer to, and we're drinking beer on here, and we're going to show five records. The point of this is to drink five beers during the video here. For me. Now, for you, you'd be on the floor with that, right?
Yeah.
So I knew I had to do something light and refreshing. Today was beautiful here in Columbus, about 73 degrees. Sun was coming out.
Oh,
It was Today was a great day. Still is. You can kind of get behind me, Satan. A little bit here. Now, you know me, I'm a PBR guy, or I was for a long
yes.
time. I've never had this before, and I didn't even know they made this. It's Pabst Light.
Oh my God. I thought the original PBR was light.
Well,
Well, it's five.
alcohol wise they're the same. So, it's just a matter of this has 3.5 carbs and 96 calories. It's like a bag of tuna.
It's
So,
basically healthy. It's like a smoothie you're drinking.
smells like PBR.
And what do you
But
got
yeah,
for
I
a
had my
glass?
PBR
What's your
phase.
glassware?
Well, since we're just doing light trash, I figured nothing like a pint glass. It's one step above like a plastic cup. But man, I mean that is clear as look at that. You could probably can you see how fat I am through the glass?
I see that you're beautiful behind that glass. That's
What if
what
I
I
did one of
see.
these?
That
Can you
I
see
love
that?
it.
All right.
It did.
Well, let's get after
Cheers.
this. Hey, cheers, brother. Thanks for making this happen.
Oh man, that is so good. That that's impressive.
I mean, it's just so it's oh, that's delicious, man. It's like a 7 Up, So there's that. Well, without further ado, we'll do one and one. You show, I show,
Yep.
all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. But I'm curious, I'm curious how you approached this. I mean, was it really
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, it's a Friday night, I'm going to crack open some beers. What do I want to listen to? How did you approach this, and then jump in with your first record, Mon Frere?
Okay, I definitely overthought it and got stressed out and still trying to calm down from all this. But I approached it from because I thought when like beer drinking, drinking with music, it can go either way. It can go like total sad bastard. I want to,
Sure.
be down in the dumps, or it can be I'm drinking and having a great time, which is
Yeah.
usually like typically if I'm drinking, I'm having a good time and I'm in a good mood to do it. And so the albums I chose are music that typically gets me in a good mood. So they pair well with a good beer.
Hell yeah.
I don't really have a particular order to start in, but you know what? I might as well just go with this one right out of the gate. I'm not getting political or anything like that, but this is a Canadian band, and I've
You can
definitely.
get political, Jason. You're on my
Well,
show.
I know, and but I know we align so well on that it would kind of be a boring conversation. Probably. I agree with you.
I
Yes, I agree with
agree. Do
you.
you agree? I agree.
So, and I think either on a live stream or whatever else, I've showed these guys before. But when the topic came up, I knew right away that this would be on the list. I came up with a list of about maybe a dozen, and then I narrowed it down. But this one was probably the first thought in my mind, and that's the Tragically Hip. So this is a compilation album that the CD compilation was released in 2005, and they finally put it on vinyl in I think 2023. This is a two-part set. This is the first part. It's called Your Favorites. And the first part has two albums. The second part has another two albums. I prefer this one just because of the songs that are on it. But growing up in Canada, the hip are a massively big deal. And so anytime I hear this stuff, I just get kind of nostalgic in a good way, not in a sad way necessarily. I grew up on the other side of the country from where I live now, and my buddies and I that would listen to this stuff, we'd always have a beer in hand. It was just great music that always signified a great time. So, in particular, on this album was great because sometimes when they do comp albums, they'll throw in a bonus track, right? A bonus
Yeah.
track that's not on a regular studio release. And the first track on this album is called No Threat, which is not, I don't believe, on any of their common release, studio releases. And that song is a banger. And then it leads into my absolute favorite Tragically Hip song called Grace
Grace
2.
too. That's right.
Grace 2.
That's right.
You knew it. I know you. Oh, I love you, man. Okay. So ultimately, yeah. And then the other tracks on this that are super popular, 38 Years Old, Music at Work. And then obviously the big one, Ahead by a Century, is on here as well. So just amazing tracks from a great Canadian band that I still listen to and I still enjoy. And whenever I hear them, I have to drink a beer.
I love it.
So, and I'm doing it right now.
So questions. Well, a couple questions. I mean,
Yeah.
tragically hip for Canadian, for my millions of Canadians that watch the show, right? Like, I mean, that's a backyard name, right? Everybody up there knows about the hip.
Yeah.
Down here, not so much, but of course that plays into the theme of their success, where they'd be selling out arenas up there. They'd come down here and
Yeah.
play a bar. Um, but my well, two things. A, the documentary that's
Yeah, I was hoping
on
you'd talk about that. Yeah,
Prime. I think it's on Prime.
it is on Prime. Yep.
Is I mean, talk about this could be a show idea in itself, but like a band that I went to into as like a oh, like I'm curious about them, and then like left
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, like what a band, right? What a story, what a band.
Yeah, I actually, I actually took. Are you still there? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. I took a screenshot because I was just looking stuff up for like dates of albums and stuff, and I just randomly came across this quote that someone wrote about the hip in relation to the United States and things like that. That was quite perfect. It said so the lead singer is Gord Downie, and so the band stopped playing. I think in 2017, 2018, Gord died, and so they kind of just everything just stopped, which makes total sense. He was the front man, he was the lead man. It was his thing. Um, and then there was this quote that someone wrote about Downey in relation to how important the band is to Canada. He said, "The place of honor that Mr. Downey occupies in Canada's national imagination has no parallel in the United States. Imagine Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, and Michael Stipe combined into one sensitive, oblique poet philosopher, and you're getting close." And I read that, and I'm like, oh man, that's freaking
That's a
perfect
good
because
quote.
it is. And, that's not to detract from the importance of the other guys for sure. But for Canadians, there was something about him, the way that that band kind of paints the Canadian picture, the tapestry of the country, and all that kind of cheesy stuff. Um, I felt that was just perfect because he means a lot more to us than I think we realized at the time.
Yeah.
And I could probably watch that documentary again, but that's pretty gut wrenching, I guess, in a way,
Yeah,
right?
it's an
It's very
emotional, yeah.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question about the actual record itself. Are there because that is would you recommend I feel like at least down here it's tough to find hip records. Uh
Yeah.
but would you recommend that comp to like a hey look, like this is a
Yeah.
two-part question. Would you recommend it? And then B, the second part was that's part one. You said that there was kind of like a part two.
Yep.
Is it chronological? Like is that like the first 10 years and then part two is later or
Um, you know what? That's a good question. I never really thought about that before, if it is chronological, but so I'm not too sure on that. However, I definitely would recommend the comp.
yeah.
And my big guilty aspect of all this is that I don't know the hip beyond these two albums. I know a few things here and there that are like deep cuts on the album, but there's a hell of a lot of songs on these four discs, and this is the way to go. Like just dive in with the hits.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. That's a great start. Great
Okay,
start.
what
I
do you
mean,
got? What do you got?
yeah. Well, yeah. What do I got? Well, I
I'm
approach
so
this.
excited.
I approach this kind of the same way you did in terms of like, and there's a little bit of a theme with some of what I picked, but I'm thinking like, okay, man, it's been a long week, or it's Friday, Saturday. I'm just chilling. Maybe I'm with friends. Like if I'm out, you know, I say like out partying as if I do that at my age. It's like if I'm just like, oh, whatever. Like what's the music I want to listen to? Me, I'm into some pretty out there stuff and like a bunch of prog stuff, but like I don't want to listen to anything that makes me think. I don't want to listen to anything that's like, that's deep. Like I don't want any like I don't want to sit there and have to drink in like odd time signatures, It's like that doesn't sound like fun. So of course that naturally led me to want to I found myself going to a lot of live albums. I don't know if you did that. We'll see. But I went to a
We'll
number of
see.
I went to a number of live albums, and then I was like, well, I can't do all live, so it's kind of a combination of all of them. But this is arguably, what the professionals, the experts would say is the greatest live album of all time. This falls
Oh,
into
oh
the
no.
do we gotta if we doubled up and you give me like a one of those things. This falls into like if someone asked me like where do I start with that band, it's like this is where you start. Like the live record was the definitive here, and to me I'm like this just screams Friday night, crack open some beers, just feel the sweat coming from it, and there's not a better, I don't know if it's the best, but I don't know if there's a better live record than this, and it's at Fillmore East from the Allman Brothers. Come on. Yes sir, yes sir. I mean, but it's wild, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it sounds too cliche, but like it feels like you're there, you know, it feels like it's the show. I mean, um, to me, they they've always stood out to me in terms of like I've almost felt like they've unfairly got looped into Southern rock because they don't sound anything like Skinnerd.
Yeah.
They don't sound anything like Marshall Tucker. You know, it's like
Yeah.
they were coming from a musical background of, I mean, almost more jazz playing. You know, you think about like tunes like "In Memory of Elizabeth Reed," which to me like that
Yeah.
is the jam. I mean, that's almost a jazz, you know, piece.
It heavy in the jazz. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, obviously you got your 22-minute and 40-second whipping post and you know all this kind of stuff. And I mean, everything about this is absolutely perfect. What would you add to this, huh?
Oh man, I'm so glad you picked that. So I was reading up on it just before we started here, and what really strikes me is whenever the band members themselves give a lot of praise to an album, I put a lot of weight in that. Because sure, like a modern day, like an actual band that's like actively releasing albums, they're always going to say really proud of this album, really proud of this album. But when you go back through a discography and identify something way back when as we were never better than them,
Yeah,
and to own the piece of music that the band says was the best they've ever played,
yeah,
you know, I'm sure there's some more details to add there, but nonetheless, like they cite this as like the pinnacle of their playing, the best playing. Like, and it was interesting to read about how there was actually a third night where there was a lot of horns and stuff involved, and they said that it just wasn't working. They had to cut stuff out. I also kind of found it not necessarily bad, definitely more good than bad, but it was interesting that it was a very calculated move to do this album. It wasn't like a spontaneity. There was no spontaneity here. It wasn't like we're just going to capture a live concert. They put the effort in. You can look at it from multiple angles, but I choose to look at it from they put the effort in to make the perfect live album. And I think they did. You're right. Like all the top 10 lists of live albums, this is on there, if not in the top three, right? I was so grateful to pick it up.
yeah.
Incidentally, the first album I actually posted on my Instagram was a
Was
picture of
that
that
one?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Elizabeth Reed, so good. Whipping Post, so good. Like, yeah,
Now I got to ask. We'll get a little bit nerdy because you know that's what the people look for here. I know. I don't know if it was any different in. I'm guessing that's a Canadian pressing. Yeah.
it is. Yeah, it's Canadian reissue. Yeah,
Okay, it's a Canadian reissue. So like, yeah, one of the thing for the nerds out there, a lot of people will.
one and four, two and three.
Well, there's that, and then it's always like, you know, they'll be like, you want the pink Capricorn, you want the pink
I
Capricorn.
don't. I don't have it.
So yeah, but
No,
I'm curious. Yeah, like, well, and that's, I mean, all it is just the.
just well up here at Polydor when
Oh, it
Post
was up
took
there.
over, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the Capricorn would have been nice to have. That's
No,
like
for
their
sure.
label, right? So, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know,
Wow.
it's interesting too. Like, you know, now that we both picked it, means we can just talk about it twice as much. But you know, you think about they released two records before this, two studio records that are great. You know,
Yeah,
Out of Wild South and then the Allman Brothers, but or they're self-titled, and those are great records, right? Like, but they didn't do anything for their career per
I
se.
know. It's so weird.
And then this happens, it you know throws them into like, oh, like people are taking notice now, and then Dwayne passes, and you get, you know, Eat a Peach, which is like one of these like half studio, half leftovers from this.
Hmm.
And then it's like, then the band is never truly the same.
Never the same.
And,
It's
you
so
know, it's
sad.
just, yeah. Like you
Um,
have to wonder, like, what would have happened? I mean, it's the same thing, everybody. It's like, but you release this, Eat a Peach comes out, all that type of stuff, and that band keeps going as it was. Like, I mean, it's just crazy
so,
to think about.
in your opinion, post Dwayne passing, what was the best thing they put out?
Well, Brothers and Sisters, I thought was great, or is great, and you could argue, like, I mean, commercially, that was their biggest seller because it had what Jessica and Ramblin'
Um,
Man on it.
yeah, Rambling Man.
Um, but you know, in fairness, right? Like that is Brothers and Sisters is like that is a Dickie Betts thing. I mean, he stepped up big time and did so much, you know, great stuff with it. But it's definitely, I think, like a sound wise, it's different, right? Like it is more of like a country rock ditty thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where so much of this was so much based in again, a lot of the jazz background, a lot of like the, just different type of blues playing, all that type of stuff. And so, yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
yeah.
I don't have the original. I mean, they're self-titled. I don't have the self-titled album. The Idlewild South is like brilliant. I own that. It's like on the old Atco label and everything. I don't think it's an original, but it's up there as far as age goes. And I remember that I acquired that pretty early on, and that was the first album where I intentionally, I think I was side two. I was like, side two is my side.
Mhm.
There was a definitive for me, a decision where I was like, okay, this is an album where there's one side that is definitely my favorite versus the other. Not that the other side was bad, but
Yeah.
I was so happy as a listener trying to be a music appreciator. I was like, here we go. Here we go. I've made a decision on this album. This is the side to go with. And the whole thing's a masterpiece, but yeah, the self-titled though, I have yet to get that. I don't know anything about that,
Yeah.
but that would be the one to get next
Yeah.
among many.
Among
But
many. Yeah.
yeah,
You're drinking pretty fast there, brother.
you're already in your second one. Are you one of these split the G guys?
Not since the incident, all right? So, sir, it was one time I was drunk. There was a grade school involved. I don't want to talk about it.
There's a publication ban on some names.
uh, well, do you want me to go again
Okay.
since that was your number
Yeah.
two or yeah.
Yeah, you go. You go. I
Okay.
gotta decide. Okay.
All right. Well, moving
All right.
well, I was going to say moving chronologically, but not really. I'll do this one because I think you could argue, mention sort of like the Southern rock thing, and granted, I would even put this band. I'm like, I guess I don't know if Southern rock is really the thing. Um, but again, I just this is summer playing, right? This is like it is the summer. It is like crank it up a little
Ah,
bit, like get it
you
going.
got me all
Thing.
pumped up on summer weather.
I know, man. And to me, there is like the element of like southern stuff that you're just like, man, that just feels good. Like open the windows and like turn up a little bit and have some fun. And so, granted, there is a song on here called Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers.
Okay.
So that helps.
That's low hanging fruit, brother.
But we're gonna go Trace
Oh,
Hombres from
jeez.
ZZ Top. Now, do you
Yeah,
call
thank
them
you.
ZZ Top or do you say it's ZZ because they're from the
Definitely ZZ Top. Yeah,
we're well
definitely.
in solidarity for my northern brethren, we'll call
This is
ZZ
ZZ.
Top. Um, yeah, I mean, so for those who don't know, Trace Hombres, this was their third record. The first two are great, but I mean, and they are like, I think I don't struggle with this band, but this is the era that I love. To me, the first three ZZ Top records are just immaculate. I have a hard time listening to like Eliminator and all this stuff that like threw them into like superstardom, like the whole drum machine thing and the keyboards and like it's and here's what kills me is like, well, two things. I'll tell you what's going to kill you. This is obviously what people, talk about a
Oh,
gatefold.
oh my God. What the hell's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm like I can't I don't know if I'm grossed out or if I'm turned on. It's somewhere in
To me,
somewhere
to me,
it's
that would be up there with worst gatefold options ever.
or best.
Or well,
It's
maybe.
one of the two. Um, yeah, but these what's funny, a lot of people don't know, right? They associate ZZ Top with the beard thing. The
Yeah.
the beards came later. At this point in the game, they are clean shaven, looking like baby boys.
What
Um,
year is this?
this was 73.
Okay.
So, again, third record. They put out a couple after this, and they went on sort of like a hiatus, quote unquote. This is when like you had these stories about like one of the guys was working at like the Dallas Fort Worth airport as like a luggage attendant, like all these different things.
Ah,
And then I guess the story was like they went on this like they had this big like circus tour thing, and that like blew them up because they were playing in all these like rodeo type places. And then that's when they had the beard. The idea was they came back after the break with these beards. And then by that point, I mean, again, like Eliminator, that record sold like 30 million copies. Like it is absurd because it's
Mm.
got like legs and give me all your lovin' and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, they're good songs, but like they just don't do anything for me record. But these first like three or four where it's just like in your face, like gritty, bluesy. You get like back when Billy was playing right, all that type of stuff. So, and to me too, but Beer Drinkers and Hell Races is the third track on here, but this record opens up with Waiting for the Bus and Jesus Just Left Chicago. Like that way to start a record with those three tracks is just, it's just perfect. So I always want to drop
Full disclosure, I don't know the album. I can't wait to try it. I love the idea that they didn't have beards there. Like you, I can't get into them. Like I know the hits and stuff, but I just can't get into them. But I'll definitely be giving that a whirl for sure.
fascinating. That's interesting because I feel like they check your boxes.
I know they should. There's so much music out there. Where do
Yeah.
I start? Right?
I,
Yeah.
I would say not to be the guy that's like check these different things, but when you say you can't really get into them, like a lot of times that might be because you've heard the legs and the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
These first three records, listen to the first three, are just bluesy, gritty, dirty. Yeah. So that's ZZ
Um,
Top's first album. It's actually the name of the album. ZZ Top's first album, Rio Grande Mud, and then Trace Embrace.
First three. Yeah, that's good to know because I don't want to not like them. I just never give them the time of day because the bearded personas were just so in my face for so long. I'm just like, whatever. I wasn't into that kind of the
Yeah.
way they were selling the image.
Yep.
Which is, we talk about this right now, and I'm getting heavy parallels of how I felt about the Steve Miller Band until that slightly famous YouTuber Mazzy
Yeah.
turned me on to the early Steve Miller stuff, and I can't get enough of those first few albums. Like
Yeah.
they're on heavy rotation always, right? Brave New World, that's one of my most played records. But so I'm excited for the trying this ZZ Top era, the early stuff.
Hell yeah.
Okay. All right. Where am I going from here?
Guess you're on number three. Yeah.
I guess I'm on number three. I got to rethink my order of things then. But I'm going to throw this out there. This was kind of a no-brainer. This is not the album that I think of when I think of one of my best pals, Alex, at Beer and Vinyl here. But this is the same artist, and this album reeks more of beer drinking than the other one does, that you're more closely aligned with in my memory. And that is one of my all-time favorite bands, my first favorite band that I've ever latched onto, the reason why I got into music, and that's The Doors.
Okay.
And this is Morrison Hotel.
Not
And
LA, not LA Woman.
not LA Woman.
I thought about it.
You don't understand how impactful that for all the viewers, all the one people, Sam, that's watching this.
I will say,
Alex
you
Alex once
ref
did it. Alex once did a video where he was jamming out the LA Woman in his living room, and he sent it to me. And my God, that was like, I love this man. That was the greatest. Anyway, that's LA Woman, and LA Woman is probably their best album by far. And this is a great album for sure. This definitely speaks more to despite I'm sure his alcoholism, Morrison's went on even further and greater in LA Woman, and there's a bit of that in here. But this is more of I don't know. It's Roadhouse blues. It's Roadhouse. It's it was like the return to form of the Doors. They did Soft Parade where they had strings and heavy production and arrangements. I actually looked it up. I forget what the numbers are, but the dollar value on the production for Soft Parade in today's dollars was like $700,000 or something ridiculous. And the album didn't do all that great.
no.
And there's a couple songs on it I like, but for the most part, that's like the last album I'll acquire. I'm still waiting on a couple of them. Anyway, these are the analog productions, 45 RPM ones. They sound great. They're good. Actually, incidentally, Alex and Sam and I had a great discussion about 45 RPM versus 33. I won't get into that, but ultimately, I just wanted like a really nice version of the album, and I got it. So 45 RPM, Analog Productions, they're great albums. Um, Roadhouse Blues is great. Waiting for the Sun is an awesome one. Peace Frog is
He's
one of my
probably.
favorites.
Oh, it's
Peace
so good.
Frog is so good. Um, it's definitive music for me for just being happy, right? Roadhouse, Peace Frog, I would put those two tracks on all the time. Waiting for the Sun on this, which, if you didn't know, is the title of a previous album, but and it was recorded, I guess, or initially thought about way back when that album was coming out, got put out on this album. Waiting for the Sun. When I first fell in love with the Doors, um, there's lots of reasons why I did, but one of them was Morrison's ability to scream and yell. And I appreciated that he did it so well. But further to that, I really appreciated how he did it sparingly. There's some artists that
Yeah.
have a certain ability, like some frontmen that have a certain strength, but they overplay it. And then it's like, you just killed the band, dude. Like, I don't want to hear that all the time. I
Yep.
thought Morrison, whether it was intentional or not, held back, but Waiting for the Sun has a great yell in it towards the end of it. And I just freaking love that part. Um, Roadhouse Blues, like I said, that's the classic song from this album for sure. Peace Frog's great. Maggie McGill at the end is like, to me, I love how they end the album on that because they just, at this point in their career, they just kind of went blues, 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 and they were about to go that direction even more. And then, that's where the story ends. But this album for me is definitely one of my favorites from the Doors. But I like everything from the Doors, right? But anyway, that's my beer drinking Doors album for sure.
That's a great choice. I guess that is like I don't want to say it's the party record of the bunch, but um now
Yeah.
interest right like LA Woman might be one of the best drinking songs, as you know.
It. Yes.
But as a full output, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
It
I
is
was hoping
good.
you're
Yeah.
gonna grab one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to for sure.
All right.
Okay, go for it.
Well, this one, and also too, I tried to get a little bit, you know, diversify the selections a bit too, so it wasn't just like all within like the same time period or same genre and all that type of stuff. This is a record you and I have talked about before. Uh,
Okay. Oh no.
I but I don't think you own the record,
Okay.
so I don't think we're gonna double up again.
That would have been great though.
But you should. But I told you recently to order the record and said that it was gonna be hot. Except for you, you're like, yeah, that's $80 shipped. I'm not gonna do it.
Okay. What is it?
You don't even need to write it down because you know it. You know
Okay.
it. But I
Okay.
mean, well, this is a sad story, one of a kind story. This is, a one and done. In fact, this record was released posthumously.
I love these clues. I like the clue
The
game where
clue,
you
and then
lead
you're like,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, check this here. So this was a posthumous record. I mean, think about it. It's one and done and posthumous. This
One
guy
and
died when he
done.
was 26. And
Oh, just shy of the 27 club.
I
Ah.
know he didn't even make it to the 27 club.
Okay.
And it's like, how do you even speak to it in genre terms, right? It is like, you look it up and it's like people use like it's psychedelic soul and it's
Ooh.
funk and it's rock and it's just everything going on. But what it does more than anything is it makes me want to drink beer, Jason. And that
Oh man, what the
is
hell is it? I have no idea.
the Baby Huey
Oh
story.
shit.
For people who don't know this record,
Ah.
like this record is unbelievable. Now, originals of this you'll probably never get. They've done some reissues of it. There's like I think to my knowledge, there's like three kind of major reissues. One of
Yeah.
them is by like I think like uh it's not Wax Time. Maybe it is. It's like the
Ah, it's
very
such a
low.
shitty label.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, right. So that's one of them.
Yeah.
So like you can
Yeah.
find this record for like $19 USD.
Yeah.
It's about 74 KAN or KA
Yeah.
but or K CAN.
See.
Jesus. The United States would spell Canada with a K. You know why. Anyway,
Yeah.
so speaking of Baby Huey, so for those who don't know, I mean, this record is just out of control. Now, this came out in 71. So, I mean, this is pretty early in the grand scheme of things. Um, he was a big boy. So this reissue is the music on vinyl reissue. I got a good deal on it because like the top is pretty like frayed. You can kind of see it looks like a cat went after
Yep.
it. But it was such a good price, and I never saw it, and I was like, this is just such a great record. He was a big boy.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they called him Baby Huey. Now, do you know the character Baby Huey, the big
no, I
fucking
don't.
dude? So Baby Huey, I don't know if they had to be named after each other. Baby Huey was like a Looney Tunes type of adjacent. He was like a big fucking duck that wore a diaper. Look it up in your spare time, and if you think there's a correlation between Baby Huey and me, then you've lost the plot.
uh,
Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. It's psychedelic soul. It's funk. It's hard rock. Here's what I would say too. I mean, this record's just amazing in so many ways, and it's a party record and just great, great for drinking beers. If for nothing else, we've talked about this. If for nothing else, it's from nothing else. His version of California Dreamin' is
yeah,
just next level, like blow your freaking
man.
mind good. Um, and so I was like, dang, yeah, if there's a pretty short list of like those classic funk soul records. You know, I think about like, Buddy Miles is another person that probably would be up there. That's some good drinking music there. But I was like,
You and me, like our buddy Miles. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right. Um, but man, I just this I might play it after this and just drink more beer because that's the
yeah,
style
yeah.
I'm in. So yeah, Baby
Two,
Huey,
two,
the
two
living
things.
legend.
Two things come to mind there. First thing, I can't believe I didn't get that when you said one and done, because you and I have talked about that. Um, the second thing is that's one of those albums that makes me really appreciate. This is going to sound all cheesy. I'm sorry, it's not meant that way, but like how much I appreciate like the vinyl community. Like I wouldn't have known of that album if it
Mhm.
wasn't for like years of watching YouTube videos and things coming up and like
Yep.
and then I saw someone show that. I forget who it was initially. Like this was a couple years ago now, and I streamed it, and I was like, "Oh man, this is like fantastic stuff." And now, so I'm really grateful that that kind of came to me through the algorithm, through YouTube, and all that. Is there not someone that's reissuing that right now? Why am I?
Yeah,
Why?
Rhino is doing it as part of
Rhinos.
their it's
Yes,
not their high fidelity, but it's like their high fidelity with their reserve. Is that what they call it?
right. That's what it
Okay.
is. Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
probably grab that because it is a fantastic album. Yeah. Good
Well,
call.
and that's
Wow.
what
Good
yeah, and
call.
not to go on the reissue tangent, but I don't want to say I'm picking and choosing. I'm intentional with reissues.
Yeah.
To me, this has been criminally underrepresented. Right? Like you're never going to be able to get an original.
That's right.
And even like the music on vinyl, this is the music on vinyl pressing, which we're on the vinyl community, Jason, and we don't like music on vinyl. It doesn't matter how good it sounds. It's digital from the Netherlands, so we're not allowed
Yeah.
we're not allowed to like it.
But they do good work.
They do great work, and they
I
reissue stuff and they press
that
things that nobody else
yes.
does.
That's why I like them. Like, yes, that's right. Music on vinyl is all like a digital thing, but like, my God, every album that I own that's done through music on vinyl is a good product in hand.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to go on a tangent of what bands choose labels that actually put out a crappy product, and I one of my favorite bands does, but like music on vinyl usually puts out a solid product.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think those
Anyway.
are like the big ones. So this is like the true audiophile reissue of it because you'll never find, I say never, like
Yeah.
maybe at your little place down the street, you'll find an original Baby Huey
Man.
story on, yeah, it's like, I think in the UK it was reissued, or in the UK it was originally issued on Buddha, um,
Yeah.
which was the label that had like Captain
Yeah.
Beefheart and all that type of stuff. But here in the States, or at least North America, it was on Curtum. That is that was the original
That
label. I know nothing about them.
me
So it's
neither.
like, good luck finding that.
Huh. Wow, great choice.
All right.
Okay, okay, okay. Here we go. Um, all right, I'll stick with your theme of going kind of. No, I'm going to save that one. I'm going to save that one. Okay. Okay. And this album comes from the place of kind of what I initially thought of when I said I want to drink beer and I want to have a good time, like good time feels, good time vibes. I friggin' love this album. This is one of my most played albums. It's a original Canadian pressing for what it's worth. Um, this album was released in '69. There's a lot of great stuff on it. There's a couple weird ones, but for the most part, I would listen to this front to back. Side four is there's two albums. Side four, it's a debut album, two discs. So kind of a double album that doesn't typically happen. The later work, the first two albums I own, and I'll probably never want to own anything beyond the first two. Do you know where I'm going?
I know where you're going with this.
Okay. one of my favorite guitarists who was deceased after basically the first two albums. And I freaking love this album. And I'm just gonna reveal it. It's CTA. It's Chicago's debut album, Chicago Transit Authority.
Take them out the
And
plastic, Jason.
I know, sorry, yeah, I should have done that. I'm sorry. I'm
It's okay.
sorry. I
Or
ruined your
unless no, you
show.
have the fancy sleeves that you gotta like Velcro them, right?
Vinyl Storage Solutions.
Okay, well, all right.
Whatever. So I got a
Oh,
two eye, yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Terry Kath, what an amazing guitarist. I will always think of him, and my knee jerk reaction to that is thinking of the quote that multiple sources have said is like Jimi Hendrix says, he's better than me.
yeah,
I don't know, like, even if that's like, I'm guessing that is true. And even if it's partially true, it's still a testament to how great he was, right? There's a track on here called Freeform Guitar, which is just him without pedals, without effects, and just a guitar plugged into the amp and just doing off the wall crazy stuff. And it's obviously a nod to Hendrix, like, look,
yeah,
this is awesome stuff here, right? Um, so on this album, songs like I think the most two played tracks from this album. I put it on. I'll listen to the first three sides, um, beginnings, and then I'm a Man. I love the
oh,
song I'm a Man. You know what's really crappy about that though? Again, sorry about the glare. The song I'm a Man on this is actually the end of one of the sides. And there's a lot of inner groove distortion, which really sucks because on that song I like jack that up as high as my house can take it, and it's a little bit crappy. But so I want to get another pressing of it just to see if it's any different. But Chicago is a surprisingly favored band of mine. Well, the first two albums are.
yeah,
I own the second album too because of 25 or 624 and some other ones as well. But um, I can't listen to that particular album enough. I can't seem to get tired of it. It puts me in a good mood every time.
yeah,
And yeah, it's just such a great story. It's like these guys that like wanted to bring in this jazz influence and horns and stuff into rock music, and they made it work.
yeah,
Like somehow they made it work. I do, admittedly kind of like, and there's a bit of a narrative around Terry Kath and how, and I don't know the fact checking on this, but like how he did or did not like the horns coming in so much. He thought they were kind of, there's a bit of a story how he thought they were veering too much into the horns and less away from the blues rock aspect. I don't know,
yeah,
but it's definitely the career trajectory of that band that they went from very blues rocky type stuff further into the horns, further into the jazz.
yep.
And I find those first two albums have a balance that I can appreciate. Beyond that, there's some hits for sure that I love, but I don't know any of those albums beyond the first two.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I didn't even consider those Chicago records, but what a great, I mean, just thinking about it now, I'm like, those are great Friday night, like crack open some beer records, right?
I
Like,
like I like how you said the Friday night thing because that to me that brings up a connotation of just want to put music on, have a drink, have a great time.
yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. That's good stuff. It's funny. Well, God, so much to, think about. Obviously, they, when they got to like the mid to late 70s, got a lot like schmaltzier and basically became like the Peter
Yeah,
Cetera, kind of
I
thing.
know.
And just like okay, well, obviously, like Terry Kath dying and the way that he died is like super
Yeah,
sad, and just like insane, really. Because he was just like fucking around with a gun and like didn't know it was
that's
loaded
what
and
they
shot
say.
himself. Yeah,
That's what they say is that he was messing around with a gun and it went off. And
right,
the band members maintain that it was not a suicide thing.
right.
And they put a pretty compelling argument forward for that. So I kind of want to, and I like the guy, so I kind of want to lean on that argument a little, but
Sure.
who knows?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
But I think also not because it's not I'm going to be like, oh, he definitely Terry Kath's influence in that band began here, and then with each subsequent record went here and here and
I
here.
know.
So maybe unlike you, no, like maybe unlike like I still really love Chicago 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Like I still really like those, even if his influence is still, coming down. Because I think I don't know, his last one might have been like 10. Like
Was he around that long? I
yeah,
don't
he just
remember.
wasn't
Oh,
it just doesn't sound anything like that because it kind of like it was like the Peter Cetera influence came up and the Terry Kath
yeah.
went down. So like it was a big imbalance. But I think yeah, like because I want to say 10 was like the chocolate bar record, you know, like where it's like it looks like a chocolate bar. I mean, chocolate bar. But yeah, so it is crazy though. It's like the first record, double record, second record, double record. Their third record was the Live at Carnegie Hall, which is a quadruple record.
Oh my God.
And then they come back with another double. And I think like it was like Chicago 5 was like their first single like record. It's
I
just
had no idea. That's crazy.
yeah.
Oh my
Like
God.
yeah. You would probably be able to yeah, honestly, the Live at Carnegie Hall you would love because it's all that stuff, you know, it's like extended jams and 25-minute versions of those songs. But what's cool about it is it was originally packaged obviously as a box set because it's 4 LPs. I mean, you got to imagine that was the first quadruple LP release ever because that was 69. So we're talking 71 quadruple LP, you know what I mean?
That's a big that's a big move. That is a ballsy move to
Ballsy.
throw that in there, eh?
That's like MC5 ballsy, you know? And yeah,
Yeah.
and so but it's cool. What's cool about it though is you can like most Chicago records, you could probably walk into your little vinyl place down the street. I mean, it's like a $2 record, like the live one, because it's like it's
Yeah.
Chicago. There's a gazillion of them. That's another video idea of like these ballsy, amazing records that you can get for a few bucks, right?
You should do that
I know, Jason.
on
I'm
your
trying to bring you
YouTube
back,
channel. You
man.
should do that.
Trying to bring you back. Um,
You know what? When you said that, my first thought went to another like vinyl album that you find everywhere is, and I almost picked it up the other day, but I couldn't because it wasn't a complete set. Was Bob Seger's Live Bullet, like another album that's just everywhere, so good, but it's everywhere.
well, that was my fifth pick, so
Nice.
no, I'm just kidding. I would have saved Robert for you.
Okay, are you gonna go on your next album?
Yeah.
Okay, first off, a new beer introduction. So I
Oh yeah. Let's
finished
go. What
off
do
the
you got?
Belgium. So actually, so I'm up in a community in northern BC, and a guy from this community moved to the big city of Vancouver and started a brewery called Yellow Dog Brewery. So I'm gonna enjoy some Yellow Dog. It's a Pilsner.
Oh,
It's it's called Pack Leader. But anyway, sorry, I had to throw that in there.
that's
Beautiful,
oh
beautiful
man.
can. Great brewery down there. Anyway, carry on.
Now, is that this is not related to anything. Do Canadians is that advertised as like 16 ounces or is that advertised as like 375 milliliter or like whatever the milliliter?
Well, we call these tall boys, right? Tall cans, tall
Correct.
boys.
We Americans call them tall boys too, correct? Yeah.
And this is 473 mils. I
Okay.
could have sworn when tall boys initially came out, they were always 500 mils, which is half a liter. And I don't know what happened, but now it feels like everything's like the 473 mark. So I don't know what that equates to ounce wise, but
Yeah, but
um,
16 ounces.
okay. So yeah.
Which,
Anyway, it's
funny enough, so a pint, so 16 ounces is a pint.
really
Yes. However, it implies that it fills all the way up to the top of a pint glass. So when
the
people
you know
ask if you want a pint of beer, it's 12 ounces. It's a mess. It's a mess.
it is a mess. And to that point, the local brewery here, the only one we have one little brewery in my small ass town, and
Yeah.
it's great, and I love it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's
You should work
wonderful.
there.
I will. I would work there. I would do all the dirty work to just have a free beer now and then. But they were selling pints for the first few years of their existence, but the pints were way more than what a pint is. And so all the pint glasses got tossed and replaced with smaller glasses
Oh
because they
my.
were losing money on it. Yeah, whatever.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's one
Carry
of the
on.
weird weirdness weird things. Yeah, it's like a pint glass is different than a
We'll
pint.
edit all that out.
No, it's important. It's important. All right, we're gonna go back into live time.
Okay, good.
I think I've talked to you about this and probably Sam like in one of our chats, but I don't know that I've spent a lot of time or any time talking to like the greater YouTube community about this. This was a Vinyl Me Please thing, which rip, but it's kind of funny. I know everybody's like ragging on this stuff. I personally, I've always been pretty, impressed or slash happy with what Vinyl Me Please did when I was a
Me
member.
too.
Um,
Yep.
So, uh, this, I heard some of the people in the know talking about it. I know, like our friend, I say our friend, like he's ever talked to us. Like Dylan down at Noble Records is a huge fan of this artist. And so I just heard so many people talking about it, and when I kind of felt that this was several months ago, that Vinyl Me Please was going down, I had some credits, and I was like, Alex, use these credits before you don't know if you're going to be able to use them. So I just unloaded and bought, some stuff from the store credit stuff. And I was like, well, get that and see if you like it. And if you
Give me
don't, like,
more
get rid of it.
clues. I want
You,
more
you need
clues.
more clues?
Yeah, yeah.
So now this is an artist that certainly falls into that like late 60s, early 70s American folk, Americana, maybe tinge of country. Um,
Well, okay. Yeah.
not,
Okay.
Now you know where I'm
I
going?
got it. Yeah.
Okay. Tragic story. I say like we need the Amazon Prime treatment
Yes,
of this
for sure.
artist. And I don't know all of it, but a complete 'cause- okay, I'll say this too. I know I'm just like churching it up all the way.
I love it.
I, you know, in terms of like the folky Americana stuff of this time period, like I love Bob Dylan. Um Not a Bob Dylan record I'm much sure, but like I love Bob Dylan. I love a lot of the other stuff. I'm not completely there on like the John Prines of the world yet, just because it's a little bit too country-ish for me. So at this point, I'm just very like, don't get me too. I'll give you a more contemporary example. I have the utmost respect for Jason Isbell.
Yep.
I don't know that I like him personally because
Yep.
it's not where I need it to be for me in my
I'm right there
culture.
with you. Yep. Okay.
This guy, the poetry, the story,
Ah,
he's not a great singer, and that's okay
yep.
because the writing is so good. But it is Towns Van Zandt, live at the Old Quarter, Houston, Texas. Now, my understanding of this came out, I think, was released back in '77 originally, but were from recordings from '74. So I think at that point he might have been like four or five records in. Um, and I got this, I put it on, and man, like after that first spin, I probably ended up spinning it on a Friday night. I probably had some drinks in me and entering inside my system and my butt. All the things were happening. And it did unspeakable things to me. Now, maybe some of that is that it opens with Poncho and Lefty, and that's just a classic that I think has been covered by a bunch of people and just amazing. Um, but there's this to me, it's like that, and this is very like John Prine's the same way of like somehow there are certain artists, Towns is one of them, John Prine's another one, where you'll hear one song and you'll be like, what a great song lyrically. That was the dumbest thing, and that's why I love it. And then the next song has you like in tears, and you're like, that was the most beautiful
Yep.
thing I've ever heard. And it's seamless, and it's just so seamless. Um,
Ah,
and so I listened to this and right away I am blown away by this. This is just incredible. So I even now, it's I think of like, oh man, it's Friday night. Like, let's crack open a beers. Now it's not a party record. This is not like a crank it up, invite the friends over, and like let's turn up to, Foreigner. This is more of a put it on. I'll do a little bit of a asterisk here. Maybe it's not a beer drinking record. This might be more of a cocktail record. But also, it was recorded in like the tiniest little bar in Houston,
no way.
and you can feel the heat. Like you just know there's no AC. The first track technically before Pancho and Lefty is 45 seconds announcement, and they're like, cigarettes and pools upstairs. It's like very clearly, it's like they're at the local dive, and
Yeah.
it's just everything about this I love. Like you can just feel the sweat coming from there, and it's just him and his guitar, and it's just perfect. So much of this is so perfect, and I've never listened to this record sober, and I have no intentions of ever listening to this record sober. Towns Van Zandt live at the Old Quarter, Houston, Texas. A
For
beaut.
me, like that is like good for you to choose that. Like I don't think I could have because I can't like for me, Towns, the minimal, and I stress that minimal I know about him is that and Sam, you're watching, I know because you're a good friend, can appreciate this. Um, that it would just cut to the core so hard. Do you
Yeah.
find that you can enjoy that album, or is it a sad bastard drinking album?
That's a great question. I think I somehow find, okay, that's a great fucking question, by the way, because it is a sad bastard album, both in uh, delivery and presentation, and also just in the
Yeah,
story of the artist.
yeah,
But the there is such a a sense of joy that the art has such a positive emotional impact. And
nice,
so,
nice. I get that. Yeah,
like you just again like getting the sense of just like how like where it was recorded, how it was recorded, that it's a bunch of like fat fucking Texas people sitting around a pub with like cheaper beer than Pabst Light. Like you could hear shit clanking in the background,
oh, that's so cool.
and it's just like, but also like the audio quality is good too. It's not like it's a
Yeah,
bootleg
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You could just very clear. It's like, man, he's playing in front of like maybe like five round tables of people who are just out at the old
yeah.
quarter drinking some cheap beer on a Friday, in the middle of summer when there's no AC. So I totally agree. It's a little sad bastardy, but at the same time, like his writing was like so funny at times and so clever that it doesn't hit to the core like I don't know. It's not like I'm listening to like like a record by The Cure and
Mm.
be like, oh, Jason, you ever turn up to disintegration? you know, I don't know. So yeah.
That's good, man. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely an artist that I don't know enough about. It's like, and kudos again, like Noble Records, Dylan. I'm a massive fan of that guy. Anything he recommends, I will listen to, and like that's why I know Downs Van Sant, right? And the first record I listened to by him, I was like, man, I gotta pace myself with this dude. It's too intense.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
yeah,
remember what
it's
you
very.
listened to?
Uh, was it this like I don't know. I'm now that you mentioned Prine, I think I'm confusing a couple albums and titles, but what
Is it
was
well, I know Dylan always talked at length about the self-titled where he's like sitting on the school desk.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Which
School
is
Desk one for sure.
I think it's his third record, but it feels like his first record, but yeah.
It's so great. Anyway, like that is an artist that I have to like take in like small morsels at times. Otherwise I'll
Yeah.
just like go down a mentally bad place. But whatever.
Jesus, now that you mentioned it, I'm like, I'm gonna drink myself to death listening to Town.
Okay, let's pick it up a little bit.
I was like, Towns Van Zant's a great artist to drink about 40 beers and get into your car.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no.
Go
Okay.
driving down a
It's
swirly
just
street in the middle of British Columbia.
oh no, no. There's too many animals in the way.
They can't break me.
Okay, am I on 4 or 5 here?
You're
What
on
am I
five,
on?
my brother. How many records you
Okay.
got? Don't you only have one in front of you left?
I kind of have 3 left, but there's two. I don't know.
No, I
Well,
want you to
okay.
I want you to show more stuff. So I got one record left, but if you got some honorable mentions, then get after it.
Okay. Well, all right. I have two that I want to mention. So give me two. The first one I want to mention just because actually our mutual friend had brought this up as prediction, and you kind of alluded to it already. And that is an artist that back in my heyday of YouTube production, I did a video on. And so anyway, Bob Seger.
Hell yeah.
Bob Seger System. This particular album is one of the like we're talking about Firebox albums, the albums you would run out of your house with. If this was an original, that
Keep
would
holding
probably
it
be the
up.
case.
Keep holding it up. Thank you.
Yeah, the glare sucks. I'm sorry.
I know.
I wasn't prepared. The Bob Seger System. I love Bob Seger, but I like early Bob Seger for whatever reason. And this particular album, so this is after he started. He started with a band called The Last Herd, which is
Mhm.
how I kind of fell in love with the guy. Like I knew my whole life like Bob Seger because of Against the Wind and some of and We've Got Tonight and things like that, which are amazing songs, right? There's no taking away from how wicked those are. Um, And then for some reason, I just started going back and back and back and finding more about Bob Seger. The last heard was I found this great YouTube video. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, you'll find that if you search East Side Story Bob Seger, there's this old like black and white clip from some kind of like show back in the '60s where he performs. It almost looks like lip syncing. Maybe it is. I don't care. It's fantastic. Last heard Bob Seger. From the last heard, he goes into the Bob Seger system, and this is the first album from the Bob Seger system, which has a great there's such a meld of genres here, and I'm a massive fan of anything psychedelic, and this is like psych garage rock kind of stuff. There's like the Rambling Gambling Man is the name of the actual album, right? And which is the title track. It's beautiful, it's awesome, it's the best song on the album for sure, most catchy. But there's some great stuff on this, like what's it called? Oh man, I'm spacing out here. White Wall on this album,
White Wall's
first track,
great.
second side.
Yeah.
It's so psychedelic and like just like not what you would expect from the guy that sang Against the Wind, right?
Yeah.
Many years later.
Yep.
But anyway, this album for me, I put that on, and of course the title track is the first one, and the second one, Tales of Lucy Liu, which was almost the title track. Um, they're they just get you hyped up. Great vibe, great energy, really good stuff. This is one of my favorite albums for sure. It's a Canadian repress. I want an OG for sure, but I friggin' for whatever reason, visually speaking, I love this Capitol
Oh, the
label.
Green
This like
Capital. Yeah.
yes, it's like this aqua kind of green thing going on. But in any event, I love Bob Seger. Like when I did kind of a more of a deep dive into him with the stuff that I had, I really appreciated him because he seemed to really have an affinity towards the Motown. He's from Detroit, right? So the
Yeah.
Motown sound and like things like that. And that is beautiful because in the later albums, like well beyond this, he brings that into the picture with like a lot of background singers that sound like
Yeah.
Motown era stuff. And so anyway, I have a lot of respect for that man and what he's put out and the varied career he's had. Like he's really brought a lot of attention to a lot of different genres in his music. So I
That's
will always
amazing.
put that on, and I put that on, and that is a good mood album for sure. And I put it on today, and I forgot how much I loved it. But yeah, anyway, that's Bob Seger.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, I've every time it's like you say, I'm like these like three very random like things come to mind. For a lot of people in my generation, Rambling Gambling Man was put on my radar as a song. I'm gonna blow your little coconut really quick. Rambling Gambling Man was put on my radar as a song from the incredible movie that was put out back in the early 2000s, late 90s, sometime. Joe Dirt.
Oh
Now,
no,
have you ever seen Joe Dirt?
I didn't watch all of it.
All
I
right. Well,
couldn't
I don't
do
know
it.
if you got to this point, but he's doing the interview with Dennis Miller, and he's talking about like I went on the road, and it like flashbacks to like little Joe Dirt, and he's like
Yeah, yeah.
crossing railroad tracks with a Walkman, and it's like Rambling Gambling Man, and he like
Oh my
it's like
God.
got the Ramble Gambling Man, and everybody's like yeah, let's go, and then like Dennis Miller scratches, he's like what back in those days you were probably listening to Leif Garrett, probably sounds more like this. But it was like a
Oh
lot of
my
people were like, wait,
God.
like Bob Seger, like Rambling Gambling Man, like that doesn't. Um, but no, I mean that's such a great point that you bring up about the whole like sort of Motown thing, but like being able to marry that again with like the garage rock thing, but like not like sloppy Stooges proto punk
Yes,
garage,
that's right.
just like kind of just hard. I mean, it's just a hard rock, really.
Yeah,
And Psych and God, you're right. The White Walls or whatever. What a great song that is. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's an amazing pick. And I love the story too about like I forget the record. Is it like back 73, back in 73, whatever that record is that's like
Back
a
in
gazillion
'72.
dollars.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah,
gazillion dollars to find an OG of that.
yeah. That's the one with back. What's it called?
The
Oh
studio
shoot.
version of Turn the Page, right?
Yes,
Right,
yes,
which
that's
no
right.
one
Yeah,
knows. It's
yeah.
like no one knows the studio
I
version.
think there was a reissue of that album, maybe that was actually pretty good, but yeah, whatever. I want an OG of it, but I'm not willing to pay the price for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I
Bob
think in the
Seger was a very like as you start record collecting, and depending on like the actual geography of where you live and what your access is, there
Mhm.
is a lot. of Bob Seger albums on the racks. And I think people
Yeah.
just kind of pass by them and don't think too much of them. But I would say, like, they're cheap, they're readily available. There's a lot of them. Grab them, and you won't
Yeah.
be disappointed.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean, and especially, I mean, especially his like more commercial stuff.
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, I mean, those early records. I
the
think I
night
have
move, Stranger in Town, Against the Wind. Like those are they're everywhere, and they're
everywhere
so
and
good.
cheap. Yeah, um, I think I have. It's again like nerdy bit. You were talking. You love that Green Capital rate. It's crazy to think about that. The Bob Seger system, that record. Um, the original pressings of that are on the Rainbow Capital label. Like
Really?
that's
Oh
how
man.
early it's how early it was, is it was on the same label as like the design label as like the Beach
Yep.
Boys and the Beatles.
Jeez.
Like it's
Yeah.
just because when people hear Bob Seger, they think of, you know, someday lady you'll accompany me, which is a great song. Speaking of
Yeah,
Motown.
this is 1969. Like this is like so long ago. This is so much before
Well,
the
yeah,
Against the Wind Bob Seger, which is like an amazing Bob Seger, but like he really had a long storied career.
yeah,
And he adapted and he changed with it. Like you gotta have a lot of respect for guys that kind of change with the times, right? Like that they
yeah.
can adapt and roll with it. Yeah, anyway. Go ahead.
And
What
that's
do you
why
got?
this sounds like a super basic comment, but it's true, right? That is why when people learn how old he is, they will say, "Holy shit, I didn't know he was that old." And you're like, "Yeah, because he didn't get popular until he was 40."
Yeah,
It's like because no one
fair.
knew who he was until to take this whole records off. Hold on, pour my last beer, J boy.
Okay. Still
Um,
the same beer.
I know.
You should have mixed it up, each one.
No, man. Well,
Progressively
I almost bought
crazier.
like a IPA like mixer
Like
pack, and I was like, I'd be on the
like
floor.
should have had a Russian Imperial Stout for like 12% or whatever.
And if it was cold,
Yeah.
well, I saved. I was gonna say I saved.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm gonna theme this because it's not like saving the best for last. I love this record. I think I not that I have a reputation. Maybe I do. Um, this is a pretty basic record. Like this record sold a gazillion copies. Everybody talks about this record. It's by one of the biggest
Okay.
selling artists of all time.
Okay.
Is it falls perfectly into, this is an artist that actually got brought up earlier, perfectly into just the American psyche of, it's not Americana, but in the American cultural psyche that is.
Okay.
And to me, it just so perfectly represents not that I want to be chugging beers while driving because that's illegal, but like it just so perfectly represents like um I don't want to say childhood or adolescence, but sort of a time with like no worries where you can just relax, hang out with friends, pull, down the windows or up the window, whatever the window situation is for the people involved. Um, and maybe because I'm pulling a line from one of the songs that talks about drinking warm beer in the soft
Uh,
summer rain.
oh damn.
But I'm gonna go with Born to Run, man. I I just again, it's sold a gazillion records. The basic pick, whatever, man. But like, just a record that just feels so quintessentially experiential. Ooh, boy, what a dumb statement that was. Um,
No, it's good.
because it has everything. It has the poetry, right? I mean, shit, you were gonna if you were to ask me if we were doing five favorites, five favorite opening tracks, man. I mean, Thunder Road to kick off a record with Thunder Road, man. Let's just take it out there. And it's cool because Thunder Road is such a like poetic, meaningful, like Springsteen song.
Yep.
And then the brilliance, and God, we could talk about this, like the brilliance of sequencing. I talk about sequencing a lot because nobody else does, but this
Yep.
idea that every single track on every single record when we're showing records is strategically placed on a record. Like
Uh
we don't just throw shit together. And we're not talking about like conceptual stuff. He very, very specifically talks about with Born to Run, this idea that I wanted to start each side A, side B, with a meaningful song, and I wanted to end each side with the epics. but to me, it's like the middle stuff too, right? To go from Thunder Road, which just makes you feel, man. Thunder, it just makes you feel. And then to go into like 10th Avenue Freeze Out, which is just a fucking party track, man. Like that's just a 10th Avenue. Sing it for me. Can you sing it? Can you sing 10th
No.
Avenue Freeze Out? Because I'm just like, sing it.
Oh God. I
You just
have
go,
so much respect for that man since I read his biography, his
oh,
autobiography. When he wrote that, and I read it. It was just on a whim. I just decided, oh, I'll just give this a whirl, and I couldn't put it down. I was like, man, I didn't know, and me being totally ignorant to it all, like he's really intelligent. He's an amazing writer,
yeah.
and he's got a lot of depth to him.
Oh,
Because on the surface, before you dive into all of the deeper cuts and stuff, you just sort of attribute him to like the Mellencamp or the Seeger as the the blue collar voice of America kind of thing, right? But like to be honest, not that I'm divulging personal information at all, but like I have this like little section of my phone in my notes where I put like great quotes, and I've got like two or three quotes from that book that he wrote. Like the guy has a
yeah.
lot of depth. Like he
Yeah.
is a smart man, and it really shows on all his records.
And that's such a good point. And also like you bring up some of those other people with no disrespect to the
Yeah,
Mellencamps,
yeah,
all that type of stuff. But I feel like Bruce gets a reputation of like, oh, he's just like the heartthrob New Jersey
yeah,
boy
yeah.
who writes a good song, and then everybody else creates everything. But you dive into like the documentaries, maybe he talked about this in the book you're talking about, like with records like this, he was in charge of every little tiny thing. There was not a note that was played on this by any of the incredible musicians that are on here that he did not perfectly say like this goes there, you go here, play it
Yeah,
this
yeah.
way, just all that type of stuff. Now I will say too, Thunder Road is a top 50 song of all time for me. I don't know, it's up there. Thunder Road's so good, right? Born to Run, heard a million times, but it's just amazing too. I mean, you could talk about the
Yeah.
production of this record, all these different things. To me though, right, side one ends with Backstreets. Amazing, right? The big long
Hmm.
emotional epic. I have always since probably God, I was 12, 13, whenever it was, have always had such a soft spot. Jungle Land is one of my favorite songs of all time. It is a top 10, top 15. There is something so incredibly special and moving and impactful about Jungle Land for me. Just everything from the strings to the beginning to his delivery. To me, I mean, Clarence Clemens, the sax solo on Jungle Land. To end, gosh, I mean, both sides, right? I mean, this would check the boxes. Best way to open a record, Thunder Road. Best way to close a record, Jungle Land. I I just thinking about it now, I just want to just take me. Just take me. I Unbelievable. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's the basic pick. I don't know, but it's just like this just makes me want to open up windows and chug cheap beer. That's what it's getting at, right? Open up
It's
windows
so
and
good.
chug cheap beer.
I have so much more respect for that man than I thought I would. Like 10 years ago, I was like, ah, whatever, that's Bruce Springsteen. But like, it's like, no, like the guy knows what he's doing. He's
Yep.
always known what he's doing. And anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Good choice.
You
Okay.
got some you
So,
got some
so,
honorables?
okay. So the last one here, and this is especially for you. Um, for those of you that are watching, who obviously know Alex and know his channel and know how impactful he is on this particular label.
Oh,
I found this band and this label actually on my own, and then the more I got to know Alex, the more I got to know how passionate he was about this label and the artist and every artist on it. And if that friggin' label, Terry, if you're watching, um, really needs to give Alex a bit of credit here because the way he puts out these musicians and these artists is nothing short of very generous on his behalf.
amazing, really.
Um, I found this on random video on YouTube once, and I watched it. It was so good, and it was so out of my typical wheelhouse, very reminiscent of Booker T and the MGs.
Mm,
And now you know.
yeah.
And ever since then, and then I went into a record store in I think it was Port Coquitlam in Vancouver, in the Vancouver area. And I found this album and I was like, oh man, I saw this performance of these guys. It's so great. And I bought the album right away and I have it here right now. And then he turned me on to another artist in that label, Duran Jones and the Indications. And like it just kept going and going. I meet Alex. He's all more than well versed in all these guys. All that to be said, Alex, this album makes me think of you. It makes me think of just great times, and the vibes that come from this album are nothing but positive and great. And that is Cold as Vice.
Oh man,
And and this isn't even like apparently not even their best album. I don't care. It's friggin' fantastic.
great.
It is so good. And like, I'm not a jazz guy. It's an effort for me to get into jazz, and it's the funk soul jazz that draws me in, and that's what this kind of brings to the table, right? And this is just fantastic stuff. Again, my first kind of foray into the coal mine label, and then Duran Jones, and then on and on and on and on. And I have more than a few albums here from that label. And if it wasn't for the weak Canadian dollar, I would probably own everything on that label, just like Alex. Like there is nothing they can do wrong, in my opinion. Um,
Man.
yeah. Anyway,
And
that is an amazing album. Um, I I got introduced to them again randomly YouTube algorithm. Thank God. I had to look it up here. 2017, 2018, the KEXP
yep,
performance. And I was like watching it and like this sounds great. And then I kind of pieced it together. Oh, this is like Green Onions vibes and all that stuff. And I did a bit of a deep dive. I understood more about it. But anyway, that to me is an album I put on when I want to be in a good mood and I want to have a beer. And 100% I think of you every time.
I love that. Well, thank you for that. You know that it's
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
that it, it's interesting that KEXP, which KEXP has done a ton for not only coal mine artists but a ton of independent artists with their live stuff. It's interesting though that the KEXP shows on vinyl. Like
Yes.
that's one of the
I need
releases.
I need that.
In fact, it's actually kind of cool because their two live records are live at KEXP and the other one is live in Loveland, which is
Which
like,
I have that one, but
oh, you
yeah.
do have, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
What's interesting about this band is how many friggin' lineup changes they've had. And I know
it really, yeah,
Coal Mine, like there's so many record labels that have this, but like there's a very incestuous like people coming and going and coming in and out. And I actually admire and respect all the artists a lot, like when they can kind of roll with the punches in that sense. And it's
yeah,
not necessarily about the brand of these are the people of the band. Like there's
yeah,
something to be said about the ability of the artist to adapt and integrate new people and new sounds and new ideas.
yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that. So like this particular lineup isn't actually the lineup that's current today, but
No,
that's
but
okay. It still sounds great.
well, and it's still Delvon Lamar, right? So I mean,
It's still him. Yeah.
that's the big thing. Well, and
Yeah.
you and I might have talked about this, not to go down the coal mine trip, but we knew we would.
Yeah.
So the Parlor Greens
Love it.
is Delvon Lamar's original guitarist,
Yeah.
the original drummer in GA20, and then Adam
I didn't know
Scone.
that. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
and then Adam Scone, who's of the Scone Cash Players. Now, Scone Cash Players, those guys rip. That is some like deep funk, like even funkier than that. It's like some deep funky organ stuff. So he's on the organ, and then you got so incestuous, correct in a good way, but like yeah, Parlor Greens is like they're like the super group. They're like we pulled guitarist from D'Lo 3, we pulled Adam Carmen from GA20, and like we got Adam Scone from Scone Cash Players, and like just absolutely sick. And I think Adam Scone is from yeah, I think he's from Youngstown, Northeast Ohio. Um, but that's good stuff. And we didn't mention this, but I'm going to say it. That's like one of those like, oh, that's a brilliant name for an album. Like, what a brilliant name, Cold as Vice.
Super
Oh,
cool. Yes. Well, it's extra cool because they named it after a guy that wasn't part of the original group.
right.
It's like, what's that say about humility and not
Yeah,
giving a crap about that stuff? I think that was like, that's admirable, 100% admirable, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you sharing
Okay.
that. We're rounding out. I don't know about you, but I have successfully crushed my beers. So,
I love it.
five favorites with Jason Arsenault. Five favorite albums to drink beers to. Jason, any parting words for the people before we stop?
Uh, just keep watching Alex. The guy, if you don't know him, the encyclopedic knowledge this guy has.
No.
Yesterday, for example, I just shot out a band. I said, "Give me a primer on this." Within a second, he had like 2 minutes of voice notes. Like, if you're watching YouTube and you're trying to figure out a channel to watch, this is where you need to stop. This guy knows it all, and he's a great soul, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, you're the sweetest man I know in my life. Thanks for taking the time to do this. 2 years overdue. I'm just so happy that we did this, and I hope it was worth it to you. Thanks,
100%.
Jason, and we'll see you on your next YouTube video. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, y'all. We'll see you on the
That's
next.
just a
Turn Avenue. Sing it for me. Can you sing it? Can you sing Front
no.
Avenue?